There were days when the so-called market economy operated to a great extent on its own devices. But crisis after crisis has demonstrated that this is not sustainable. Governments cannot entirely leave business alone, some argue, as COVID-19 has demonstrated.
The days of a pure capitalist economy are more or less gone. And I think we have to be open about that. That in many countries across the globe, we're seeing a lot of interventionist packages of some sort of stimulation or intervention. That the days of saying, no, leave the markets alone, they'll figure themselves out, are no longer gone. So the purity of the capitalism model may not work anymore, at least at a global stage.
To illustrate this, had the Bank of Uganda not taken action to allow extension of loan repayment periods to borrowers, businesses and banks would be in deep trouble.
For the first time, you had 40% of total outstanding back debts being under restructure. 40% outstanding. Now, I'm pleased to report that that number is getting better and better. With every wave of restructuring, we see a smaller amount being restructured, which is an indication that businesses are recovering and that they're now able to take care of their loan obligations. So,
in that stride, you would expect lending rates to be skyrocketing as banks are wary of lending to the private sector at this time. But surprisingly, these rates are lower than expected.
Because the government usually borrows or overspends to fund elections and other things, we usually see a tick up in interest rates. But not this year. This year, it did go up very briefly, only to come back down. Part of that was because the flighty offshore investors we talked about did come back in the fourth quarter, but also because there's quite a lot of liquidity flying around.
In effect, banks have a lot of cash sitting idle, and they are to some extent hard-pressed to do something with it, including lending it to you. This was during the deliberation organized by Stanbic Bank on current and future outlook of the economy. Ismail Musa, Ladu, NTV Business.